Bibliosophie.
I'm gonna wait for this ambulance to pass by, maybe. Hello, welcome back. My name is Sophie. It's Monday, and you know what that means. I'm starting another weekly vlog. I'm essentially just continuing from the vlog that I posted a few hours ago only. My reading this week is probably just going to continue what I was reading in my most recent video. I still have half of Patti Smith's Bread of Angels to read, and that's probably what I'm going to be reading this evening. I'm going to go to a rehearsal later today, and I think this is what I'm going to take with me in the subway. I'm going to tell you already now, we're going to be talking about cancer this week, definitely. It's not like I ever stopped talking about it, but this week will be the 1-year anniversary of my first hospitalization. It's also my return to performing. Lots of big emotions. So if you're not interested in my ups and downs, you best tune out now, because I guarantee you there will be some big feelings. What else do I have to say? Yeah, nothing for now. I'm gonna go do some required reading. I'm gonna do some thesis reading in bed and rest up, and then I'm gonna go hang out with a couple of friends. Pretty good. Heading into my third rehearsal of the day. I have been rehearsing for too many hours and I am so tired, so spent. Hello. It is now Saturday. Oh, it has been a busy week and it's not over yet. I still have quite a lot to do today. I'm gonna head off to rehearsal pretty soon. So I have another long day ahead of me. Tomorrow's gonna be another long day, and I'm looking forward to having a day off from rehearsals on Monday. That'll be my first sort of day off. I have to head to the infusion clinic, but yeah, it's been a very long week and I am pretty tired. I may or may not get into some more about how the week has been, but not today. I don't have the courage. Let's talk a little bit about books. I'm finishing up The Crisis of Narration, which I began last week and which I talked about in my most recent vlog. In short, this is kind of about the selling out of the human impulse for narrative and narration, the human need to communicate and build community and self through narration in the age of the internet, and specifically social media, and the kind of storytelling that we do continually, that I'm doing right now, right, in making a YouTube video, of constantly like selling yourself out to people. This is interesting and I agree with it. I recommend this book, but also I found myself constantly a little bit at a remove from it, and I've been wondering what it is. I've been trying to articulate for myself what it is that I find not grating, but just sort of not quite it about this book. And I think it's a little too repetitive, and it is not nuanced enough. Kind of ironically enough, he is not telling this story, I think, in a nuanced way enough. Basically, I agree with him, but it just kind of doesn't really allow for the fuller picture of what it does mean to be a person on the internet. What are the nuances of that beyond just this consumerist addiction and capitalist scheme, which is, of course, a huge part of it. But it's, yeah, there lacks a certain something. And I was looking up reviews of this to see if I could kind of put into words what was holding me back to a certain extent. I came across the review of this book from The Guardian, Stuart Jeffries, kind of writes well what I also have been somewhat bothered by in the book, so I'm going to share a couple of bits of that. I am very fond of Han's writing. His 100-page Jeremiads with short chapters and no mixed sentences are all animated by a Cassandra sensibility that expects warnings to go unheeded. Amusingly, though, he couldn't tell a good story to save his life. Like a lot of men, and it is always men, Han writes as though he's never been contradicted. And I think that's the thing. Han proves addicted, like many German intellectuals since Goethe, to expressing himself in the imperious maxim. It's a writerly tick that brooks no dissent. And it's not like I want to give particularly huge dissent to what he's saying, but it really it becomes a sort of hermetic thing, which I think is his desired effect, but it's not mine. So anyway, I'll link the Guardian article as well, because I thought it kind of summarized pretty well what I thought of the book. It's largely positive, and then also these sorts of something. And then meanwhile, last night I read most of this little Penguin classic. It's 2 short stories by Edith Wharton. And the first one is Mrs. Manstey's View, which is her first published short story from 1891. And I really liked it. It is very melancholic and depressing. It's about an old, lonely, or maybe not lonely, but alone widow and the view of gardens that she has from her boarding house room. And it's a bit wicked and yeah, quite crushing, but I really loved it. And then The Reckoning is about a kind of increasingly contentious marriage. So it was nice. I've pulled this from my shelf months and months and months ago, and I finally am getting to it, and yeah, it was nice.
We know that there's a...
Hello from this sleepyhead. It's my first day off, sort of. There's quite an asterisk to that because I don't have any rehearsals today, but I actually have quite a lot to do. I'm not really doing that much of it, but I have to catch up on writing work. Not even for my dissertation, but I have a translation project that I'm quite behind on. So I've been working on that today. Yay, it's actually really fun, but I just kind of wish that I could sleep. I also have to do quite a lot of cleaning. That is probably not going to happen too terribly much. The only actual scheduled thing I have for today, I'm going to head off to quite soon, is going to the hospital for some blood work and some vaccinations. I need to get a whole slew of vaccines redone. This is not a function of cancer treatment in general. It is specifically because I had a cell transplantation. So if you've had a bone marrow transplant, stem cell transplant, cell therapies, your factory settings basically are reset. Your immune system is wiped out either completely or to some extent, and you lose the antibodies that you had. And so that is my case, and I need to get all of my baby vaccines back, basically. I'm not getting all of them today. I'm not yet eligible for a certain number of them, none of the live vaccines, but I am eligible for a whole bunch. So yeah, I'm gonna go get vaccinated for tetanus and diphtheria and pertussis and all sorts of things like that. I'm very excited. This is a big step. We'll see how I react. I had quite a bad reaction to the COVID vaccine last weekend and flu. I suspect these will be easier actually to manage, but the good news is I actually have a day off tomorrow as well, so I can kind of cocoon. Exciting. I'm not super excited about going to the hospital. I would rather be in bed, but still, exciting reason.
Level 15.
Kapow! Kapow! Good morning. I am coming out of my post-vaccination and also just days off tunnel, let's have a little chat. First of all, how did last week go? Because I started this vlog off at the beginning of last week saying that it was going to be a big week full of ups and downs and big emotions, and it was. As a recap, I had a few performances. I had 2 performances in which I didn't have much to do and I was part of a larger ensemble, and I had 2 performances last Thursday that were my first performances back in over a year as a soloist. And neither of these was actually a huge deal. They were both only a part of a larger program, so I wasn't holding the entire program together. I was singing about 15 minutes of music each time, 2 different programs, one in the afternoon, one in the evening. So there wasn't too much at stake. It wasn't a huge stage for a huge audience. I was definitely in friendly territory, but I was really nervous because to me, it was really important. It did feel like there was a lot of pressure mentally to kind of get back on stage. They went really well. The short of it is that I did a really good job. I sang very well and people were very complimentary. The longer story is that I felt really bad. I was proud of myself. I felt good about how I sang, but I was really sad that day. The day of my 2 solo performances was exactly the 1-year anniversary of my first hospitalization. And I was feeling a lot of big feelings before that. I slept really badly the night before, and I was, quite frankly, really sad. And I felt very, very alone, both for kind of cancer reasons and then also just larger interpersonal reasons and kind of the combination thereof. So I had a bad time that day in many ways. I felt really, really bad. And having a good success on stage didn't take away the bad feelings. Accomplishment never really does take away the underlying kind of bad as much as we want it to. And that has to be okay. So anyway, basically big success, and also, an imperfect big success, as these things tend to be. I've been reading too many books and kind of letting them fall by the wayside a little bit. I finished the Edith Wharton and I liked the second story as well, so this was fun to do. I'm still not done with Patti Smith. I basically have barely advanced in it. I brought it to rehearsals last week and got a little bit farther in, and yeah, it's just kind of been languishing. So this has kind of been an uneven recitation for me. On Sunday, I started and read about half of Jane, a Murder by Maggie Nelson. I took this out of the library at school last week because I had forgotten to bring a book, in fact. So I thought, actually, I've been meaning to read this. Maggie Nelson's aunt was murdered when the aunt, was in her early 20s, before Nelson was born. And so the ghost of her kind of always hung over the family for good reason, and there's a little bit of a cold case aspect to the facts and the mystery of her aunt's murder. But in addition to that, Maggie Nelson is pulling from journals that she found of her aunts, and she has turned those into poems. She has reprinted parts of journal entries. I don't know how much they're edited or what, but she has, at the very least, I assume, changed the spacing of them. So it's part personal history, part family history, part Jane's history, cold case. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I ultimately will think of this book. So I'm not sure. Sorry. I'm a little bit, up in the air about it. And meanwhile, I've also started the audiobook of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. This is going to be a buddy read with Rasheen. I'm reading it because it came up as a recommended book that's worth the hype. I made a video a few months ago about what hyped books are actually worth the hype, and this is one that several people talked about and that I've never read. I have seen a long time ago the Hitchcock film adaptation. It seemed like the right time. I'm also actually going to use it as the October prompt for Ben's Read Good Challenge, which is Ugtober, a book with an ugly cover, because I don't have a physical copy. However, there are a lot of really ugly physical copies of Rebecca. There's some, in my opinion, but I'll try to find one that I think is not very good. It's just very 2010s, like lady romance coded. There's one in particular that I'm thinking of. And this is going to be an extremely cold take, but Rebecca, good book. I am enjoying it. I was listening to it a lot earlier this week. I was kind of languishing in bed. Languish is apparently the word of the day. It was nice to listen to an audiobook with plot and so I am enjoying that. Who knows what I will finish first? I have, I think, too many books going at once, and of course I've been doing some dissertation reading. So as always. All right, Autumn has officially entered the chat. So I wanted to do a little reading check-in for two books that ultimately I'm kind of ambivalent on. I finished Patti Smith's Bread of Angels, and because this covers so much of her life, I found myself interested in the episodes of her life that I'm more interested in and less interested in the episodes that I was less interested in. Basically, fundamentally, I really liked Just Kids. I reread it recently and liked it a lot, and those things kind of dealing with similar episodes of her life and similar concerns in this book as well, I liked more. The things that were not just didn't hold me as much. I'll be curious to see if you are a Patti Smith just completionist or mega fan, what you think of this. You might get more out of it than I did. I like Patti Smith's writing, but I'm not a mega fan, and I wonder if you get more out of this kind of overview than I did personally. So yeah, I'll be curious to see other people who have an arc of this, what they think, or once it comes out, what people in general are thinking. I am similarly not hugely enthusiastic about Jane by Maggie Nelson. I am not quite done with it. I'm almost done. And similarly, I like Maggie Nelson. I have read a lot of Maggie Nelson, but I also would not call myself a mega fan. And in particular, I like her essays more. This is something in between. This is something that's somewhat essayistic, but is more predominantly kind of poetic in how it makes its arguments and how it recounts Nelson's experiences and other things. I like her overtly essayistic writing more. And I think that is something in the way for me with this book. It's a very interesting project. It has very affecting moments, not just because of the subject matter, but also because of Nelson's execution of it. But I remain relatively ambivalent. A couple of days ago, I was saying, I don't know what I'll think about this. And I kind of still don't know what I think about this. It's kind of washing over me. I know some people really love this book and were really kind of ripped open by it. I am not one of those people. And that is fine. I want to report that I read one of the stories from this collection, the Oxford Book of English Detective Stories, which I found on the street yesterday. And I am not a big short story reader. I don't know if I would say I'm a huge detective story reader either, but I enjoyed myself. I read P.D. James' Great Aunt Allie's Flypapers, which is a slim little thing. Will I read any more of these? I don't know, but I thought it would be fun to mention that. I need to head off to rehearsal again. There's this like piece of curl that's coming out here. I am so tired. I am so grumpy every day. I want days off. Yeah. I'll try not to keep complaining about the same thing because also fundamentally I'm so thrilled that I'm very, very busy. But yeah, your girl needs like actual days off. Shocking, I know. Anyway, it's a beautiful day. I'm wearing shorts actually, because it got warmer, but I'm gonna enjoy a beautiful day, and rehearsal will be great because it's with great people, but I just want to curl up into a ball of moss. Hello, good morning. It is once again Monday. This is the third Monday of this vlog. I'm not starting a third week of vlogging. I'm wrapping us up and then I'm going to post it. In fact, this is usually what I do. Little behind the scenes. If you don't know, I do most of my editing as I go throughout the week when I vlog. So it's not that I have a bunch of footage, then edit, then post. I just edit as I go along. And that's why I have always vlogs that end right before I post them, because there's not that much editing that goes into the final assembly. Before I leave you, I want to mention a new book I started yesterday. This is Racebook by Tochi Onyebuchi. The subtitle is A Personal History of the Internet. It's a series of essays that Grove sent to me. It's coming out October 21st. It's part of the Roxane Gay imprint, in fact, of Grove Atlantic. And these essays all are dealing with the internet, with Onyebuchi's relationship to the internet as a user, a maker, a writer on the internet, his racial persona through different iterations of what we consider the internet, Web 1.0, Web 2.0, social media, etc., his role in and watching the internet. It's been a good companion piece, in fact, to the crisis of narration, which also is dealing with how we produce ourselves online and kind of sell ourselves out, how we interact and intersect with technologies. I'm going to leave you with a quotation from the end of the second essay. No world is more magical than the one we already inhabit. Our technology is at its most seductive, its most consequential, when it remembers and reminds us of exactly this. So from my little corner of the internet, I will leave you with that, I think, very good two-sentence little quotation. I will catch you in the next video. I am going to attempt to clean up some things in my apartment. Nothing is wretched, but I feel like I need to do some organizing and tidying and cleaning, including in here. And I might use that as the jumping off point for doing an updated library working space tour. A few people recently have mentioned wanting to see one. I made one a couple of years ago, but maybe I will do a little reorganizing and use that also as a video in the future. So watch out for that, maybe. I'm making no promises, but that might be coming round. Thank you for watching. See you next time.